Cynicism was my favourite emotion in 2019. It was so easy to lean into. I found such comfort in its slightly negativism. The sense of superiority I found slightly rejecting every opinion. The sense of comfort I found never having to outright dispute any opinion. In 2028, cynicism seems particularly quaint. I kind of wish the singularity had outright removed the cynics. I kind of wish it had met my naive expectations and eradicated us all. I mean, in 2017 I was convinced I'd be dead by 27, cynically pretending it was a joke, while simultaneously leading a lifestyle that all but guaranteed an early demise. I kind of wish an early demise was possible in 2028. In 2028, an early demise seems particularly quaint. For some context, I enjoyed my time in 2019. I was a stereotypical tortured artist trying my hardest to express myself in the throes of late-stage capitalism. Partially blaming the system, but partially embracing it. I mean, it was amazing to me that I'd sustained an existence this late into my life without really working. A miracle, really. Yet the status quo amongst us as artists was that late-stage capitalism was an evil energy, solely responsible for our lack of financial reward for our frankly undesirable art. I personally, along with everybody else, found a certain level of comfortable depression by existing betwixt two seemingly contradictory beliefs. One, I needed to express myself wholly, yet deserved to create a living by doing so. Two, if my self-expression held any value, it would sustain itself. Now seems so funny to me, so relevant. The inattention just feels so quaint. The information revolution transpired in a way that none of us quite anticipated. Infinite comfort came almost painfully. Our forefathers died in mines and revolted against governments which served interests outside of their own. All of a sudden the idea of revolt just seemed so quaint. The idea of death became so quaint. Now the warm caress of satisfaction placates every basic need. Our benevolent overlords handle every inner and outer contention with such ruthless efficiency. The idea of contention just feels so quaint. I remember faintly feeling such angst, such passion. I remember actually standing up in front of a table full of my peers and tearfully arguing that there's still magic to be found within the cracks of music. I recall spending 3 years convinced my loved ones that the act of creation is more important than what is created. If laughter still existed, I would crack up in hysterics at the thought I had once held. If I could just write down how I feel inside and set it to the right music, it might one day help somebody who feels something similar. Now, in 2028, it all just feels so quaint. It all just feels so quaint.
I'm Sam Wiehl, and I was commissioned to do some of the identity and visual aesthetic Bido100, and then also turning that into an installation as well. And it was called Ritual 2.0. I worked with forest swords, and the piece was 10 video walls in a linking tunnel in Moorfield Station. The animation came from an interview I saw by Carl Sagan, who was talking about the future of technology and his dystopian view of this gap forming between big tech and society. In the idea that you couldn't get into the workings of these things anymore. So it created quite a sinister idea that all the people who owned all the technology knew exactly how it works and how to use it, but the consumers don't. So the concepts, the animations, were very intertwined in the technology and in the animations. People are floating through landscape almost in a coma or dazed, unaware of what's really happening, just part of the system. And the technology itself was unfathomable in the imagery. You couldn't tell what the computer did or was made of. There is a gap between you and I knowing how this technology works and at the same time using it. Even computer parts, it's a bit like a car these days. You know, everything is under the hood. You've got less freedom to make things the way you want them to work. I think certainly that dystopian view of technology and political use is something that we're noticing more and more, and the idea that the tech companies having these affiliation with political parties, they could really push out very biased information, because if that's the only place you're accessing it, then suddenly someone's in control of what you're reading and what you're believing. I use technology in all my work, and I'm a huge fan of technology, and I think that there are things that we should be aware of. They're conversations and dialogues, and I think that's what happened in Bido100. He started this dialogue, and that's why I love the project so much, because I think he was ambitious in trying to make you question, oh well, is using AI in the future going to be a bad thing? What does that mean to be an individual, a person, a creative? And I think those conversations happening is the key. I think that was the interesting thing, because I think the ambivalence of slipping into this world of not really questioning things and just going along with it, that's when there's a danger, I think. I've seen this, yeah. In a creative sense, this tool does open something up, because I guess there's someone else pushing another idea, whether it's through self-learning AI, whatever. It does generate interesting new ideas that you might not have come up with yourself. I guess the dangers or the things that people were discussing were the idea that would it replace individuals, and I don't think that is the crux of this, like this is going to replace an artist. I mean, obviously there's worrying things in music where people, can get film scores, but you get a world-class composer, he's going to make a better piece of music than a piece of AI at the moment. I don't think it replaces, it just becomes an additional new tool, a way of working.
My name's Lacey. I'm an artist based in Liverpool. I've got 10 works in this exhibition here at Bido Lito. With this exhibition, we were all asked to think about what might be happening in the future, and collectively the work does paint a picture where there's not very many people present, and nature has started encroaching back on land that was previously taken by buildings. Buildings in turn are crumbling, and it could be viewed as a potential end game for climate change. I'm on the fence a little bit when I make these pictures. The conditions that would have to transpire in real life to create that set of events would obviously be cataclysmic. The human race would need to be wiped out, and the ice caps would melt and the seas would rise. And on the other hand, the areas in these pictures to me seem quite attractive and appealing, and I kind of make them thinking this would be somewhere I'd quite like to visit. So half and half, really.
My name's Blackman-Kurz, and I've submitted 3 pieces of artwork, and it's basically around how I predict the 10 years time, the community of Liverpool coming together, even through the dread and the political turmoil we're still in, and the anxiety that breeds in us, but we're going to still come together and make the future brighter, rather than creating a dystopian nightmare that other people predict. I see Liverpool as being a place where people want you to be involved, whether you're an artist or a musician or a filmmaker. I see it as like a real energy, which is what I've tried to capture within it.
Well, I think we are a really important part of society at the moment. I think there feels like everything's building to a head. The point of sitting back and doing nothing is over. I think everyone's feeling that, and I think everyone is feeling it's time to stand up. Some of the work I'm doing at the moment is meant to be a utopia. It's not done. We don't have to roll over and accept that hatred, fascism, ignorance is going to be the victor. It's not necessarily done. It doesn't have to be that.
The year is 2080. You get up from your future bed and wonder, what's on my mind? Your state-issued, Facebook-emblazoned pajamas fit you just right. You look at the pictures on the wall when you see a face. The face of our glorious leader, Mark Zuckerberg. A face that you've seen 1,000 times.
Subway son, your sandwich data. Zuckerberg, I'll see you later. Subway son, your sandwich data. Need more data, gonna get more data. Subway son, your sandwich data. Zuckerberg, I'll see you later. Subway son, your sandwich data.
Need more data? Get more data.
Oi, my mate's run out of battery, you know.
You produce your specimen for login authentication, and your timeline shows that your parents are downloading a meal to celebrate their light-transmitting concrete wedding anniversary. Your time device starts to dilate to tell you
That you and 36 others
are late for your 6G vaccination implant, and you think to yourself, wow, I'm really in the future.
Mate, what's the Wi-Fi code again,
Subway sound your sandwich data. Zuckerberg, I'll see you later. Subway sound your sandwich data. Need more data, gonna get more data. Subway sound your sandwich data. Zuckerberg, I'll see you later. Subway sound your sandwich data.
need more data? Get more data.
When you're in there, you've only got an hour, your pressure is to, oh, let's make a normal track, let's do an intro and then a middle and an end. And it'd be quite nice to see if you put in, let's just make it all bridge, all intro, what it would come up with, and just push it to as far as it can go. I think that'd be like, I don't know, if I had another shot at it, try and just fuck with it, I guess.
It's easier in a lot of ways, and it's quite crazy how it tries to like you put a mood and then it figures out itself what sort of music it goes with that mood, because usually you don't really realise you are in that mood and you're making that sort of music, so it kind of chooses how a mood sounds, and that's quite interesting. And then I was thinking, is this the sort of thing I would have done because I'm in that mood, or even if I'm in that mood it would have been like more uplifting.
So what mood did you pick?
Uplifting actually, yeah, like sort of happy, but at the end it did go more melancholic for some reasons. Yeah, so you still have your input.
I think the idea that technology is scary or like harmful to creativity is really unappreciative of electronic music. So when drum machines or like sequencers were first introduced, there was that same kind of uproar of, oh well, it's all just going to be automated now, and then the last 30 years of music has been amazing. Yeah, we're kind of in danger of being fearful of technology and its advancements in creativity, and that's actually a really like backwards way to think. Like AI is really handy. There's loads of amazing producers using AI at the moment, and everything they're putting out is really thoughtful and doesn't sound at all contrived. Accessibility to tools is really important with it, and that's definitely something that it enables. If we go way back, paper was super expensive. You'd never write your scrap ideas down on it. It's just monks. I don't think that anybody would now even dream of saying that people being able to access typewriters reduce their creativity in writing. If you're like got an idea for like a poem or a little snippet and you write it down but your phone auto-corrects it, that's never going to be a hindrance.
No, I think it could be positive, especially it makes it a bit more accessible, which is, I think, most times is quite a positive thing. It just makes it a bit easier, especially at the beginning, and then I think once you find the whole process a bit easier, then you probably would want to sort of do your own thing a bit more, and you can use it against the creative process, but you could also see it as an advantage if you want.
I went to a talk at the BBC Introducing event in London last year, and then they started talking loads about AI and bots and music, and it just became insanely creepy in my opinion, because the things that they were suggesting was, I don't know which artist it was, it might have been Ollie Merce or something like that, and they were doing like a virtual reality shot of him and his band in a black room, but his eyes were following the camera the entire time, so you could walk around all the band members with your goggles on, but he would still like sing the song looking at your eyes the entire time. And I just thought that was the creepiest suggestion ever made. It sounded to me like you just want to make people not do anything anymore and put them in a place where they're just stored away and happy and can consume constantly.
Like the reason a lot of the programs that generate AI music have been invented, which is that it's cheaper to ask a machine to do it, and I think that can be a little bit scary. So for example, like, I hate going into libraries and using the automated check-in, check-out, because I liked speaking to a librarian in the same way that when I use Spotify, the recommendations are always off, Whereas if you go into a record store and you say, well, I like these 6 records, and they go, oh, well, have you tried listening to this? And that's really helpful.
Spotify portrays itself in its marketing very much as an artist-friendly company, when really everything is about making more money and being more applicable for their audience and users. But their tagline is, we want to make 1 million musicians live off Spotify, which they're nowhere close to. I think it's 30,000 musicians now who make stable or steady income off Spotify. So when I started writing about it, that was my viewpoint towards it. Like, all of the artists that I spoke to seemed to think that Spotify was the platform you had to be on. And I think I've noticed it a lot when you go to gigs as well, that people say after the gig, yeah, you can find my music on Spotify. No one says you can find my music on Apple Music. So Spotify holds a stronghold over what is the most important streaming platform for finding music. And when I started researching that, I found so much stuff about algorithmic problems or stream manipulation, where artists were actually manipulating completely based on numbers rather than PR. And it becomes scary in that sense, because you can't rely on the charts anymore, and you can't rely on the actual top 10, because it doesn't actually mean there's those people listening to it. It might just be somebody pushing up those streaming numbers. That's their whole product, to say that we suggest new music, we are great about our curation, we've got the best new music, but you put yourself on repeat for the entire year or something and you can make money off that. That's just an absurd system to me as well. The effects that has had on how music is written. Songs are getting shorter again because you don't get paid for how long your music is, you get paid for the 30 seconds that are being played, and that's a play. So if your music is 2 minutes long or 10 minutes long, it doesn't make a difference. So people are actually making shorter songs but longer albums, so people listen to more songs and so they can make more money. And in a way it's like, well, that's a completely like financially, I don't know, it's like a financial incentive to make art. And I think that's always been an issue with music and art in general. It's like, when is it art? When it's made for money, and like, but that's always been a thing. It's not actually changed that much. And also when you look at why music was a certain length over the years, it was never the musician who made that decision. Original songs were 3 minutes long because that fit on vinyl, and then you got the LP and all of a sudden you made a 45-minute long album. There was no musician who came there and was like, actually, I've written 45 minutes of music, I need a medium for it now. Like, it was the other way around. So now streaming is the new medium and people are making use of it. It's a cool way of dealing with the product you're being handed, and it's like, well, I'll make it my own and I still put my artistic twist on it. And I think that's always going to happen. Like, artists have always done that. That's kind of their responsibility, to like make the best of what they're given. It was always too brief. It wasn't like the big composers were actually writing something they wanted to write. No, they were writing for a certain like king or whatever, and they told them, right, I want this kind of music because we've got this kind of event on, do it. They made their living like that. Like, I don't know, people are using it to their advantage, I think. And at the end of the day, things have not changed that drastically. I think the most drastic change is that through technology evolving, people are actually able to do so much more by themselves. Now you can record your own music, do your own music video, you can release it all by yourself, you can even get some PR by yourself, theoretically. So like, that's a great advantage to people nowadays.
How so much of our time is recorded and monitored. Like alarms, caps on time, apps, call, camera, video, text, upload, downloading my life on a continuum of fucking softwares. Receipts of myself endlessly streaming like toilet roll unwinding. I wonder how much of our time is spent performing. Or maybe the performing is necessary if it's how you want to be, how you want to be perceived. Or maybe that doesn't matter and you do it for yourself, like protective programming. How often do we program ourselves to say things, adapting ourselves to different social settings? How much of our language is recycled or uncensored? Does it really matter? I'm not so sure. And me speaking this is so different to me talking conventionally, whatever that is, but if I want to control the pace and have an engagement consistency I cannot achieve if I haven't recycled this text, and so be it for the lexical rhythm. The defeat of not being able to say how I feel and think with a limited vocab that I apparently own. So why can't I at least conduct the speed and rhythm of this language? Why can I not curate before I speak? Like I've been so used to now, trapped in devices that speak for me, edit my voice and add gaps to my fluidity. If this is being written live now, at 11:15 AM on the 28th of the 4th, when does this live moment stop being live? When I choose? Or when I disengage? And I'm vocalising that live recycled text now live while it's being recorded. Decide for yourself how this moment's crossed. And even this will become an archive, like so many of our conversations that we can return to or not. Available and returned to or not. Available but lost. Projected but disconnected. Is the fluidity, confusion and lack of structure the self? Your unedited self? Does that belong to you, or is this self when you apply structures consciously because you're actively making those choices? Active and edited, or natural and fluid? The paradox between unconsciously naturally unloading and critical conscious conducting, all the while automation correcting and suggesting leaks down your ears, staining your intentions. I want to program myself to myself. Being myself without review feels like a practice run like in school when you use pencil first and pen later when you're ready to solidify yourself. Making statements official into a conclusion you can carry. E.g., I think of things online on paper that I cannot elaborate coherently from my tongue, or fuck the coherence, not even with an understanding I can project accurately. Therefore I type it, like writing my own script, knowing I can walk around entering the empty space, collecting those words that seem so far from me when I have the distraction of my own voice. After it's written, solidified, not too modified, I speak it, hear it, knowing these are mine and always have been. But I know they needed to be recycled first before they go escape me, so I can perform as myself.
What does it feel like being recorded?
A performance. I feel like I'm on a performance. And I'm really thinking about everything that is coming out my mouth. Not relaxed. But surveillance. Because you kind of watch yourself from the position of the camera at the same time, so I don't feel like I can be natural. And I feel that way a lot these days because there's surveillance everywhere we go.
I think it kind of makes you check yourself sometimes. Even though you think that you're going to be as natural as possible and you're trying to be yourself, you still might take 5 pictures just to think you're posting the best version of yourself.
Okay, with Instagram, you're definitely more hyper aware of yourself because you then consider like loads of different people are going to see you from their own perspective, and that's going to be different each time, and then you're trying to consider all those perspectives and that's impossible. You can't cater to everyone.
I feel like I'm self-conscious of like I have quite a big forehead and I have a bit of a double chin at the moment. So I just feel like I look like a potato all the time. But I also feel like self-conscious of what I say. Maybe in the last year or so, I think after loads of people got like outed for things they tweeted in the past, I was like, oh my god, if I tweet this, would like really offend somebody? Like, oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I'd be like really like self-conscious of how I word things and what words I'd use.
I do think that the digital realm has also helped me and assisted me to move forward with a lot of things. When you search the right things and you find the right people, the people that you feel like you fit in with, it could be plus size. I have epilepsy, it could be epileptics. I think the internet helps with that. You find your people and your community, because you mightn't find it within your next door neighbor, or you mightn't find it in school. So the internet could help you find it so that you know where to go. And it could be in your city, it could be in your neighborhood, but you mightn't find it without the internet.
Yeah, I like the relationships that formed online as well. There's people I've never met who I feel like close to, and which is weird, but I like it. I like how I can kind of create and curate my own like personality online. I don't think that's fake, I just think that's one version of you.
It's kind of pushed me towards maybe putting a bikini pic online or putting myself in lingerie, and I'm just kind of like, okay, it's not a big deal, I could just accept my body the way it is, like I'm fucking sexy. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that doing that there is kind of taking ownership of myself.
I would say similar to Rachel, even just hairstyles. Where I live, like back home, I would just see people with like either pin straight hair or like use curling tongs or something, and that just doesn't work for me. Like my hair will just not stay like that, so I was just like, this will never work. And then you'll find like people trying out, oh, these braids, these twists, these little things, and it's just the tiny little things like that can just kind of spark you and improve your confidence and kind of pointing you down a path that is for you rather than
100%
like what everyone around you is doing.
And like from a personal perspective, just fashion, and taking inspiration and seeing other black girls and what they're doing with their hair, what they're doing with their clothes. That's like making me more adventurous and accepting of myself.
The main thing is how you can reach a big audience and you can access different experiences, different opinions, different interests, and there's always a place for someone on the internet. So I guess that is a good thing, and we found our place, we found our community, and people are still finding us and are finding their community. I'd say that's like...
That is really positive, yeah.
Not everybody's given the opportunity to go on the radio or go on the TV, whereas social media just gives you a platform that like anybody can find you on and the right people will find you. We only have like an Instagram account, and like from that we'll have like 800 listens on a podcast episode, which might not sound like a lot compared to some things, but like that's such a big deal to us.
It's only 2 of us. So 2 of us compared to 800 people listening to 2 of us. Little me and Rachel living in Liverpool. Do you get what
just like talking rubbish in a little studio, and it's like it's so valuable in that sense that it allows you to reach these people that you could never reach in any other way. Because I will look on our like stats on SoundCloud and it's like the maddest places in the world, and like somebody has pressed play.
I guess when it comes to the media as well, all of the newspapers that you see, and they're all run by people who are very powerful and have their hands in other pots, and I guess we're rooted. We don't have that like agenda, so that's more powerful and empowering for us, because we only just want to like do nice things.
I don't think that it's negative or positive, I just think we just have to learn to live with it. And I think thinking about the future as we become like more integrated, like I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it might be better. I think the worst part of technologies is the mass production. Like we're producing so much so quick, it's just creating like a really disposable society, like throwaway, substantial amounts of waste. So I think while the accessibility of like data and information is great, because they're just at your fingertips, you're not working for it, therefore you don't value it. And it's stressful, like the endless data that we see every day is like, it's like you can't process things quick enough, you can't absorb things quick enough. So you're just like skimming your way through what you read and what you do. There's no end to anything, and there's always meant to be an end.
My name is
William Ernest Drummond,
and I was born on the 29th of April 1953.
That makes me 66
and 5 weeks old.
When I was first asked to do this, I was honoured.
My ego was flattered. I had at least a year's worth of stories about Roger Eagle.
This was going to be easy.
But then last night I woke up before I had properly fallen asleep and thought,
fuck the past, and fuck all those people who want to celebrate the past. And how it was
all so much better then. And if only the young folk could learn from the past. Our past.
The city's past.
Then I woke up again.
And as I lay there trying to get back to sleep, I had this
idea that I should come in here today. And the first thing I should say...
No, not say. Demand.
Demand.
Everyone in the room that is over the age of 23 should leave the room now.
Including myself.
As all of us over the age of 23 are irrelevant.
What?
Before me leaving the room,
I would bring onto the stage one of my text paintings and put it on my easel.
And the words on the text painting would say,
Go places. Do things.
And then all of us in this room that are over the age of 23 would leave the room.
Leaving behind all those
under the ages of 23 to go places and do things.
And that would be it.
And it would last as long as the concept would last.
How long do concepts last?
Anyway, it would at least be a lecture that did not have to rely on well-polished anecdotes from bygone eras.
And there is part of me that still thinks that's what I should do.
As in, tell everyone over the age of 23 to fuck off.
But I know I've not got the guts to do it.
so I will not ask those
over the age of 23 to leave the room.
But from here on in, everything that I'm about to say is going to be aimed at you.
As in, you.
Under the age of 23.
And there was something else.
That maybe this lecture should not be a lecture, but a play.
And this play would have the title
Go Places. Do things.
And once I started writing the play,
I thought it might work better
if it was not me in the play, but a young artist. One under 23.
One from Liverpool.
Go places, do things.
On Merseyside, anything of any lasting importance or even fleeting importance,
and at times fleeting importance is more important than lasting importance,
has come from the minds and bodies of those under the age of 23.
Billy Fury wrote much of and recorded The Sound of Fury at age 19.
Even
Ringo Starr, the old man of the Beatles,
was still only 22 when they had their first hit record.
And George was still a teenager.
Jerry Marsden was 22 when he wrote Ferri across the Mersey.
Across the Mersey.
Ian, what's his name? Sorry.
I don't really know, you say.
Okay.
Ian McCulloch was 18 when he wrote the words about the pictures on his walls that were about to swing and fall.
Holly Johnson formed Frankie Goes to Hollywood when he was 20.
Pete Burns created Dead or Alive in 1980 when he was 20.
Lee Mavers formed the Lars. That's right, am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm. Lee Mavers formed the LAs.
The LAs.
The LAs.
In 1983 when he was 21.
Okay, maybe there was one exception that proves the rule.
And that is Ian Prowse not releasing Does a Strange Stop on Merseyside until he was over 40.
Dixie Dean had just turned 18 when he signed for Everton, and by the time he was 21 had scored more goals in one season than any other footballer in the top flight of English footballer had ever done, before or since.
And not to leave Liverpool FC out, Trent Alexander-Arnold is right now only 20.
So, basically, what I'm saying is,
if you are from Liverpool and you were over 23 with any sort of visions in music or ambitions to being a football legend or a cultural icon of any kind, forget it.
Go home now.
Get a proper job.
But there is something else I want to tell you
that sort of counters all that stuff about having to be under 23. A friend of mine from Liverpool
goes by the name of Angie Salmons.
Told me that it always takes the arrival of an outsider to make things happen in Liverpool.
She said that if it were left to Liverpudlians,
they would talk the talk, bicker and argue, shoot the breeze, and the years would tick on by.
And brag about what could have been.
And badmouthing whoever was not there.
And anyway, procrastinating is what Liverpudlians do best.
Or something like that.
And it was here that
said it, not me.
And when she said it always takes an outsider, she meant it in a way that it didn't have to be someone who
come from somewhere else in the world, geographically speaking.
There were two of these major outsiders in the 1960s Liverpool that made a major difference. The first being Brian Epstein.
Being both Jewish and gay meant that he had a complete outsider take on things.
An overview.
And then there was that fellow Scot, Bill Shankly, who
dragged Liverpool FC from the old second division into being the greatest team in Europe.
And that is what Roger Eagle did with us.
As in Roger Eagles from Oxford or somewhere.
Proper Southern.
He'd already been around the block.
He invented Northern Soul in Manchester.
Sometime in the 60s.
And Roger Eagle lit a fuse and told us to go places and do things.
So we did.
Sort of. Angie Salmons, the woman that told me about how it takes outsiders to get Liverpudlians to do anything, I sent her the script of this play. And she tells me that I'm totally misquoting her.
And if it were to get out that she supposedly said this stuff, her life in Liverpool would not be worth living.
Or something to that effect.
She says,
but nobody embraces an outsider like they do in Liverpool.
And when the pollen from another place blows in,
there is a transformation.
The creative magic occurs and nobody is quite the same anymore.
That's an alchemy you won't find anywhere else.